Hi, everybody. This is day 1,868 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss, and his life was taken from him brutally, brutally. And this was after months of retaliation by his leadership, um, and more uh, by this faction. We're absolutely understanding who did this to our son. Um, it is a Mormon-led faction, uh, and very, very clearly, we know um, who really killed, assassinated Charlie Kirk. Um, we also know who really attempted to assassinate President Trump multiple times. We know who tried to sabotage President Trump over and over and over again these years. We know it. We all know it. And we're seeing it very clearly. Um, we're not buying it anymore. Uh, the narratives, we're not buying it anymore. Um, so let's really get into this and talk about what has the more and more that happens, the more pieces we put together, the more pieces fit together that give clear answers to what's going on. And the more clear answers we get, the more that we're getting accountability, the more it's not accountability. It's never accountability the way we think it should work, right? It's it never works out that way. Um, so let's get started. I want to make sure that everything is working. Um, that I'm on. Let's see if I'm on. I should be on. Yep, there it is. Okay. So, for years now, we have seen um, attacks on our country, and they come in all kinds of ways. Uh, and a huge part of that is a psychological attack. And the way they do these psychological attacks, I like to call them asymmetric warfare. Ever since our casualty affairs officer, Josh Lyons, was caught in asymmetric warfare tactics against us, I kid you not. I mean, we just caught him red-handed, his hand in the cookie jar. I mean, it's so criminal. It's so criminal. But he did, and he was caught. And he was caught with colluding with uh, the faction of General Garrett. I mean, I kid you not. So this is a faction. This is a faction that serves a foreign and domestic enemy, and they work in asymmetric warfare tactics. Because they use our tax money, they use our institutions, they use our agencies, um, and they absolutely use asymmetric warfare tactics against us. And you can call one of those, a big part of that is psychological warfare. And they'll use movies, they'll use um, music, they will use books, they will use publication, any kind of publication. Newspapers, used to newspapers, but now it's social media. They'll use social media, they'll use memes, and they will also use events, right? They'll use events, and they'll also use these major crimes, and we always, well, at least I did. I can speak for our family. We, thought that some of these crimes were just that, isolated crimes because the family wasn't right, or this person was mentally ill, or they were angry, or just bad people, thugs, or whatever. But the more we put everything together, it seems like so many crimes are really um, uh, part of asymmetric warfare, psychological warfare tactics. And what happened to Richard uh, was absolutely part of this. He was a political hit. He was executed. I mean, this was a code red. Remember Leilani Hart? She wrote a report calling what happened to Richard a code red, meaning that it was ordered, and it was by the very institution, it was by the very leadership that ordered our son's death. That wasn't me. That was Leilani Hart. Okay, that was Leilani Hart. That the other day I was told by that inner circle, because they infiltrate us, and they always try to leave us messages and stuff like that. That we don't know how the government works, and uh, how it really works. No. Um, but we're getting there. We're understanding it. We're learning, and what was meant by that is the corruption, the collusion, the deep state. People call it the deep state. But this is, it's not as deep as you think. It's right in front of our eyes every day. And we just got a huge piece of the puzzle with Tyler Robinson. With Tyler Robinson, this young Mormon that is now the prime suspect. Not just that, he's in custody for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. He's in custody for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and I think he's 22 years old. There's loads of pictures. We're getting sent all kinds of stuff. And, but we knew before he was caught, we knew who killed Charlie Kirk. Um, didn't we? We knew. We knew that this was an ordered, professional, precise, premeditated, during the daylight, in front of cameras, um, in front of phone live streams, in front of a predominantly Mormon youth, right? The future of, because this is uh, Utah Valley University is, I think, their number one Mormon attended university, more so than Brigham Young. Um, so this was absolutely in front of them. It was their safe space. When you are predominantly one thing, you feel safe. If you're with your family, you are, like with our family, the Hallidays, you feel safe. When you are in your church group, you feel safe because you're all in like this one group, right? You're united. And this university is like over 80% Mormon. Okay. So this university has a very different feel because it has this unifying uh, common denominator. And so it's a safe place. It feels safe, right? And so for Charlie Kirk to be invited to set it up, you know, I don't think, especially now that we know um, with what Charlie Kirk said right before he was shot, he said that he loves Mormons because half of his crew are Mormon. That's what he said. So he felt very safe in this at this university. Okay. And so this makes the message even louder. This makes the psychological warfare even more uh, uh, terrorizing, traumatizing, right? When you are in a safe place around friendlies that you think are very friendly, that you absolutely, even if you don't totally agree, that you are allies, right? He felt like they were allies. They cheered him on when he said that he loved Mormons and half his crew was Mormon. They cheered him on. He felt very safe, and they felt safe. They felt very safe, and they felt very happy. It was a pretty happy group. And anything with Charlie Kirk is pretty, it's all a discussion, right? There's never a fist fight. There was never a fist fight that I can recall. There was never police action or anything like that. It was just a debate. Um, uh, Putting forth ideas and discussing them. Charlie Kirk used the First Amendment to the highest level possible, right? And he valued it so much that he made it his business. And he could have had loads of jobs, right? But especially like in the White House or whatever, he could have had loads of jobs. But he wanted to grow his Turning Point USA. He absolutely wanted to have these discussions, especially with our future, the youth, and to be in the presence of what almost 1,500, what is it, 1.5 thousand, uh, mostly Mormon youth there. He felt good. He felt he could have a decent discussion, and that he wasn't uh, you know in the Daniel's den, the lion's den. He didn't think he was in the lion's den. He didn't think he was in enemy territory. This is Utah after all, right? And so this was absolutely a psychological operation because to assassinate him in a safe spot in front of allies, in front of those that cheered him on, um, in front of cameras in the middle of the day when least expected, and to have the precise place, spot, to make the precise and professional shot, one shot, in the precise forensics. The my husband could explain this better. The precise spot on the neck to create the most gruesome death, right? The most gruesome assassination, right? Not angry, like if you shoot someone in the face, that's really like you're really angry, right? Um, that wasn't the case here. It was really for the maximum amount of blood. And please forgive me. Please forgive me with all of this. I'm not allowed to be emotional. I'm not allowed to cry. I'm not allowed because we've got to get to the bottom of this. We have got to expose this faction that has put us through hell and have created these crimes and have created and manufactured and orchestrated and perpetrated the worst of the worst crimes, including this one. And for Tyler Robinson to be declared a Mormon, that was such a wow. That was so great because they operate this Mormon faction that are up to no good. And this is not a faith thing. This is not talking about the entire Mormon population. This is a faction of the Mormons within the Mormons. And, they operate with deception. And I know this because this is a common denominator in our son's case and in the Walmart case. And we have had to dig to get the correct identities of people and their ideology to understand, to move our son's case ahead to get accountability and to find his remains, right? And we know they have his remains, to, what did Sean Bernabe said? You have to drive them to do the right thing, to drive them to give us back our son's remains. And in our investigation that we've tried to go through, research through, without too much emotion, right? To do it very legally, to get the best results. And then when all this comes out and we get our son's remains, then we can be emotional. You're going to see a lot of emotion because it's been so bottled up. But, to go through 5 years of investigating this and not just investigating it, but identifying the crime and documenting the crime and filing the crime and then reporting to you on the live streams through memes. I don't know how many memes I've made so far. This is my part of the Richard Halliday crew here, right? I don't know how many memes I've made, so many to help people understand the complexity the complexity is also part of the psyop, okay? Um, because it becomes very simple. But to understand what's going on, and thank you so much. And I'm going to read through the comments in a minute. I just want to get through my thoughts here with this investigation and uh, absolutely identifying the common denominator for a long time. And anybody that's been watching for a long time, and me making movies, when you make those songs, when you make the poems, I mean, there's so many things when you sit down, you have to think things through to create a lyrics, to create a poem, to create the right music to go along with it, to create pictures and memes and charts and everything to go along and do all the forensics comparison and then double check and fact check to make sure that what we're giving you is the truth, right? Fact-based truth. Because, there's people that have threatened us, and they can, they go through everything that we put out with a fine tooth comb and they can use it against us. So we have to be, the best of the best when we put out this material and fact check to give you the truth. And when you're going through that, you really have the opportunity to find those common denominators. And the common denominator in this, of course, is cartel tied. That's absolutely fraud, absolutely fraudsters, and absolutely Mormons. There's a lot of common denominators, but those are the big ones. And the big one that always stuck out is that this is a Mormon faction. This is a Mormon group. And the leadership of the Mormons, they absolutely know that we asked this question because Leilani Hart is Mormon, Connell Witten is Mormon, his wife is Mormon, um, uh, the the Noosa brothers are Mormon, the Noosa family is Mormon, of course, because they're cousins of Leilani, Dallas Hart, there's a question there. I don't know if they got thrown out or whatever, but Felix Valenzuela is Mormon, and Woody Hunt is Mormon, and many more that we can mention. And this is the common denominator that this unites them. This is how they've been working together. This is their ecclesiastical. I don't know if you can say that about being a Mormon, but that this is how they're united. And now they're united with Tyler Robinson, right? This connects Richard's case with Charlie Kirk's case, but we knew that. We knew that when it happened. And it's not a person. It's not like a Patrick Crucius lone wolf scenario. They always try to put a lone wolf. Don't they put a lone wolf on Tyler Robinson? Oh, he's just a lone wolf. He's just a lone wolf. I don't think so because evidence is showing that there's more to this. And we knew that. We know that. We don't want to fool ourselves with that. But this is also, they create this to be a psyop, to divert attention to other investigations into them. So, but uh, they just miscalculated because now there is more evidence against them with the Charlie Kirk assassination. It's the same investigation. If we're going to investigate who shot Charlie Kirk, it's the same investigation into who orchestrated the Walmart mass shooting, who ordered the death of Richard Halliday, also connected to Julio Cordero's death. Absolutely. It's political. It's taking down whistleblowers, taking down influencers like Charlie Kirk. And when you look at the whole scene of Charlie Kirk's um, uh, when he was executed, you see that it was so psychological, um, right there in a safe space, right there in front of predominantly an entire Mormon population, to send a message, a very bloody message, that when you see a Christian, you're compromising or you're communicating with a Christian and you're influenced by a Christian and you think he's right, you're going to see his death. That's this is a picture they put into your mind. Oh my gosh. And because it's very, very important for this Mormon faction to control the young people, right? That's why they're in the barracks room, bringing in the young girls, the 14-year-old that lived in the barracks for over four weeks, and that's not an anomaly. That happened quite often and multiple times, and to bring in the substances to absolutely sabotage the barracks room of our young military volunteers, right? And that's why in the schools, that's why with El Paso ISD, that's why they take over these ISDs. They control the youth, they control what's going on in the classroom. They control what's going on in the tunnels underneath the schools, right? Crossing the border. And then they also target sports, the the fitness family, or sport teams that they own. They own these sport teams because, and they're big in sports because they want to influence the younger. And they haven't uh, been wanting to influence them in a good way. And how do we know that? Because they've had this power for decades, and look at what they've done. We have so many that are not even with us anymore because overdose deaths or uh, uh, all kinds of um, circumstances. And then they want to bring in um, body mutilation and everything, and they don't want to lead people like uh, Charlie Kirk wanted to lead people into a happy life, into a prosperous life, into a good life, and um, and to think things through, and to have a legal life, to be married, and to have children, and to work hard and have that American dream that requires. People want the American dream without the responsibility of having the traditional American life. And it just doesn't happen. You have to, unless you have one of those robot mowers, you have to mow your lawn, right? You have to wash your dishes. You have to go to work every day. And it requires a discipline. And that was Charlie Kirk's message over and over again. Um, and for decades, we've been led away from that, right? And it has brought a lot of homelessness. It has brought in a lot of theft, a lot of fraudsters, a lot of violence, and it has made people in this faction very, very wealthy. Um, because look at the Walmart mass shooting case. Who benefited from that? Well, those that got the millions and millions of dollars from the open checkbook, right? From the open checkbook. So you have to have people in place to get that open checkbook. Um, and so that's this faction. And Tyler Robinson was part of it. And so was Patrick Cruces. And so was Anthony Acuna. And so is Manny Chavira. And so is Bob Moore. And so is Veronica Escobar. And a big fish in it is Woody Hunt, right? A big fish in it is Woody Hunt. Because if Woody Hunt wasn't part of this Mormon faction, if he was, a Mormon that was wanting to live by the tenets of, the original Mormon ways, uh, you know, El Paso, with all his money and everything, maybe he wouldn't have all that money, right? But with all his money, it would be a beautiful place. The water would be flowing. The property taxes would be probably nil, nothing, right? Because he'd use his team to figure out another way. The roads would be the best of the best. The security would be the best of the best. The law enforcement would be the best of the best. The children would be safe. There wouldn't be criminal trafficking. There wouldn't be substance trafficking and substance abuse. And there wouldn't be this exploitation of Fort Bliss, of military contracts, using toxic materials, right? You can go on and on and on and on about, how he could influence El Paso for the better. But that's not the case at all. It is absolutely threatened. This faction is absolutely threatened by closing down the border and having security checks. They're absolutely threatened by that because an open border is their billions of dollars. And just like hearing that President Trump early this morning is going to go into Memphis because Memphis is part of the pipeline from El Paso. And if you look that up, it will come up for you. It will say El Paso is like the heart, it's the epicenter, it is the front door of the United States. And one of those arteries, a pipeline, the next one, the next biggest, because of the FedEx hub, right? Because of the FedEx hub, is Memphis, Tennessee. And so this was very good news that came this morning. Of course, the naming of Tyler Robinson was very good news. Um, and anyone that thinks this is a diversion, because I've been, brought into this discussion that this is a diversion of the Plenitude Crematorium, of Richard's case, of the Walmart mass shooting case, of the Walmart Victims Funds case, fraud case, that this is a diversion. I don't think so because let me tell you, when they have success, and they did today in Charlie Kirk's case, and it's not over yet, y'all. It's not over yet. Tyler is a part of that, just like Patrick Crucius was part of the Walmart mass shooting, but we know it was orchestrated. We know we have questions like who shot Maria, like who shot Alexander Hoffman, like what part did Ernest Christopher Grant really play? Because who shot Ernest Christopher Grant? Um, and many more questions. Who shot the the Anchondo couple, right? Um, that's um, a question that pops up. And finding out everything about Charlie Kirk's assassination, the crime, is going to help all of these cases. And this is the good news that I want to bring to everyone today, that we have 5 years of experience in investigating this. And this is the same faction. And there's a common denominator in the faction, and that is not all of them, but a huge portion are Mormon. And they're up to no good. It's kind of like, if you've ever studied angels, um, you'll learn that Lucifer, that Satan was an angel, a cherub, and he was given everything, right? He was just dressed in every fine jewel with gold, and he just sparkled, and he was just absolutely beautiful. And he was given an optimal spot in right there at the feet of God, right there in the garden of God. And he still wasn't satisfied. He still wasn't content. He wanted to be God, right? He wanted to be God. And he was cast down, and all those jewels, all of that gold, everything he had, his position and everything, just were thrown away. And he was revealed to be the demon that he is. Satan is revealed to be the demon that he is, a greedy, very greedy, lying demon. And but that doesn't make all cherubs bad, right? It doesn't make all cherubs bad. It makes Lucifer bad. And this faction in the Mormon uh, group is up to no good, right? They're up to no good. Criminal trafficking, um, and that counts for the worst type of crimes against children. Videotaping the worst type of crimes against children, protecting those that do the worst type of crimes against children. We have Connell Witten absolutely protecting even active duty soldiers engaged in the worst type of crimes against children, and the worst type of crimes in their own household, one with another, brother with a brother, or brother with a father, or threesome, whatever, which is illegal, and they get protection. um, you know we we have all this information, all of the evidence, hard evidence for all of this. And so this is the breakthrough that we've had today, is that we have one more corroboration. And I wish it wasn't true. I wish it never happened. I want Charlie Kirk back. I'm sure his family want Charlie Kirk back. I know a lot of people want Charlie Kirk's voice back, his amazing brain, his intellect, his uh, uh, his personality, because he was always the happy soldier, right? He was always willing. He was always willing. And I'm sure so many want Charlie Kirk back, and the youth that were getting direction from him, to have a happy life, uh, to want prosperity, to work towards prosperity in a legal way, not being a fraudster, not taking Walmart victims' funds by impersonating and creating fraudulent documents and everything. No, he was leading people into a righteous life, into into a lawful life. And so I know a lot of people want him back. So let's look at some of the comments now. So Alex, it was Israel. That's not where the evidence is pointing, because this group, this predominantly Mormon faction, um, a big center of that is Nadal Baim, the Palestinian arms dealer. Now, I didn't make him a Palestinian. I did not make him, go to school in Kuwait. I mean, he went to school in Kuwait, to the British school. Um, I have experience because of living in Ireland for so long, because of being a homeschool mom, living in Europe, Ramstein, living in the Landstuhl Ramstein area in Germany, where NATO is, the Ramstein Air Base, um, teaching children at the pool how a swim course, and meeting the British school there, and just being, I have a love for curriculum and everything. The British schools are amazing, are absolutely amazing. Um, Polish schools are amazing. Catholic curriculums are absolutely amazing. The Polish Catholic curriculum is one of my absolutely favorite curriculum. Um, and, so having these experiences with our children, even attending German school, teaching in a German school, I taught in a German school in Heidelberg. Um, I taught in a Quaker school there in the DC area. Having these experiences, I can tell you right now, going to a British school in Kuwait is pretty posh, is pretty posh. I didn't send Nadal Baim there. He did. He's Palestinian. He went to a posh British school in Qatar. I mean, not Qatar, in Kuwait. And he ended up in El Paso. And he said that he was FBI, and his family is, um, and he's an arms dealer, Western Frontier Trading, and his family is Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ATCOM, our son's command. And he said that they found Richard's remains. They found his remains, and they were looking in multiple areas, because we know that Richard was dismembered. We know that they found his remains, even if it was partial remains, they found it. He said it. I didn't make him say it. I know that the generals went absolutely crazy when we received the CCTV footage of that, when we, less than an hour after that all happened, announcing that Richard was dead, because at that time we didn't even know for sure if Richard was dead. We knew, but we didn't have it verified. Um, and we had the cashier's video. You can see it, it's online. Very important. He's a big center of our son's case. When we gave that information to the FBI, they went crazy, and they covered it up. They covered it up. Um, and Sean Bernabe lied to our face. Donna Martin, the CID general, they absolutely were in cover up mode in the most absurd way. It was so obvious. It was so obvious, and it was absurd, because we had the video. We had the video testimony of the cashier on top of that. And they were so absurd that we knew that this was a cover up. This was a deep state. This was a faction that was up to no good. And this has no I can tell you right now, there has not been one person that we know of connected um, that makes this some kind of Mossad operation or whatever. It all the evidence points to a Mormon faction led operation. That's what it points to. And are they collaborating, conspiring with the Palestinian arms dealer? Yes. Are they collaborating and conspiring with Mexican cartel FTOs and government officials that are part of the FTOs? Yes. Yes. And think about this. They their temples are not in the United States. In El Paso, the Mormon faction there, their temples are not in the United States. They have to leave the country to go to their temples. That is very important because then they are loyal to a foreign entity. And so we're just telling you the facts, where it leads. And I think there's no evidence supporting what Alex Esparza just put up. Okay? None at all. They gaslight a new age. Sadly, El Paso churches can't be trusted. No, we can't trust anything, and it's always been that way, right? It's always been that way. You always go back to St. Augustine. He had the city of man, the city of God. If you've read the city of God, he's always telling you that the only one you can trust is God and the city of God. You can't trust the city of man. You can't trust man made institutions. That's why our forefathers, that's why the United States has lasted as long as it has and has been so prosperous for uh, for the most part for everyone for so long because of all of our checks and balances, our system, and so it's slowly, of course, they've infiltrated, but they've always been infiltrated. If you go back and read what George Washington had to go through. He had so many attempts on his life, you wouldn't believe it. There were so many infiltrators during his administration, you wouldn't believe it. This is nothing new. This is absolutely nothing new. And, are we to get to heaven on flowery beds of ease while others fight and die on bloody seas? That's the great hymn. And, what it's telling us is that we always have to be prepared right now to do the right thing, to take a stand. And what Richard did was absolutely amazing because, he's not. Um, wealthy. He's not this, he wasn't a super wealthy kid. He has a little bit of money. He wasn't wealthy at all. And he had no protection at all. None. No protection. And yet, he didn't have any guards. He didn't have the police guards, right? He didn't even have his own personal security guards that he paid for. He didn't have the money for that. He was on his own and he took a stand. He took the stand anyway against this evil um, faction that was engaged in this criminal trafficking, the fraud, the the very vile and vulgar culture that they were engaged in. I can tell you that. Um, and the setting up to frame, to compromise our soldiers on purpose, intentionally compromise our soldiers. Um, no, he stood up to that, uh, and not only stood up to it, he reported it. He was willing to file it. He knew they threatened him. He knew that that he was a target. Okay, he was being threatened. He was everything was being taken away from him. They were retaliating against him. They were torturing him, and he still stood. He still stood up against them, and we're very honored to be his parents. Very, very honored um, for that. So, but this is, I'm not horsing around here. I'm not trying to lie to anyone. I'm not trying to make any money through any of this. I want accountability and I want my son's remains and I want to tell the truth because I don't want anybody to go through this. And I love our country. I don't want our country to be led by a Mormon faction that is willing to orchestrate a Walmart mass shooting, that is willing to um, create the situation where a Tyler Robinson gets arrested for an assassination of a Christian influencer, right? Of a Christian influencer. I don't want to live where our soldiers in the barracks are targets. Targets to compromise them, to ruin their health, uh, you know. And so we know who is doing this. We know who the deep state is. They're right in front of our face. And they are this Mormon faction that is colluding and conspiring with the cartel, the FTO cartel, and the CCP. We know that the CCP, and I don't see um, the Mossad in this. Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. I haven't seen that. The Palestinian, the Middle Eastern group, yes, I've seen that because of Nadal Bayim and George Alhana, right? George Alhana, he's part of the Nadal Bayim group. Um, that is um, allied to this Mormon faction up to no good. Okay. Um, and are there some Christians that are aligned with them? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There are. There are. Um, I understand you. We have been on what happened to my oldest daughter since 2014. My heart goes to his wife and daughters. Exactly. Teach your kids history. Our hero. Blessings and big hug. Thank you, Laura, so much. And thank you, Anicia, for your prayers and your love every day. And I think that really answers a huge. I posted a big long article, a couple of big long articles today, um, about Max Grossman, and we've been working on those for a couple of days. Um, the whole thing, we're right about Max Grossman, right? He was absolutely targeted. He was absolutely targeted, and I hope that you read through that because the big take on that is the dastardly, disgraceful Bob Moore and him taking advantage of his 501c3 um, and turning it into a weapon, which it's supposed to be for educational purposes. But no, he's turning it into a weapon. What? To For whose hand is on this weapon? Well, Woody Hunt's hand, the Mormon faction. The Mormons faction's hand is on Bob Moore, okay, and El Paso Matter, using El Paso Matter's media as a weapon. And this time around, it was pointed at Max Grossman, and he was absolutely, and I forgot to even put in to that article a couple details that really make all the difference too. I might go back and edit it, but he was absolutely targeted. Now, did he push his partner with two hands during, a personal um, incident? I don't know. The courts are going to have to say that, right? I do know that his partner, um, right before this, was recovering from breast surgery. So, um, we don't know the whole story. The courts are going to have to. Do we know that the judge um, got his case? Yes. Do we know that she uh, tried to bury him, tried to go against him, call him every name, I guess, by corroborating this story by a El Paso Matters writer that had it out for Grossman, because Grossman, in his uh, being a government watchdog, outed her, the very writer, of the article against him, for lying about being an architect, and she wasn't an architect, and so um, yeah, they don't tell the whole story. They do a false witness thing, right? They only take what they want and they spin it and they fabricate a story, and then they do the timing and they pound hard so that everybody is shocked. And when I read that Max Grossman, that the comments were just uh, really violent against him, right? Were really vicious against him, then I knew this was a political hit. Okay. I knew it, because these vicious statements, there's a Mormon faction, um, that they have these keyboard warriors. We know in our son's case, that, I think they're paid to go on there and be vicious, right? And to be vile, and to do this psychological um, warfare on us, right? To do psychological warfare on us. I like to call it asymmetric warfare. So, yeah, we know that. So, a lot of things are still coming out about Charlie Kirk's case. And I just want to, because I've heard so much frustration about, like, when he was jumping off of the building, he didn't have his rifle with him. So, where was his rifle? And, that just shows you that they're lying to us, and that the gun was in the box. And Crowder said it was in a cloth. And, you hear all and it's a mess. It's a mess. And it's still being worked out. It's still very early, and, I've heard a lot of frustration, but I want to give just a note of hope that this is much bigger, and it's all connected. And it's all connected. And what happened here is the huge linchpin connecting what we know, what we've been saying for years, this Mormon common denominator, and now I call it the Mormon faction. The Mormon faction that is up to no good, conspiring and colluding and fabricating and weaponizing the media and all of that to do asymmetric warfare. Why? Because they're greedy. They're greedy. They want to keep that border open. They want that border because they've been making billions on that border and at Fort Bliss with these military contracts that sometimes there's never a deliverable. It's all fraud. Not all fraud, but there's several contracts that are evidence confirms it's fraud. There's not the deliverable there. Um, and so you have these big time open checkbook fraud cases, right? And and you have this criminal trafficking that you can use a military base, you can use government facilities to carry out your own trafficking so that you can profit. You don't have any overhead, you don't have the bricks and mortar, you just use the system to do it, and you become a billionaire. You become a billionaire because, it's so profitable. But, you have made a deal and have accepted the spirit of Lucifer, and your jewels are going to fall off. The jewels and the gold are going to fall off. And the monster that you are is going to be on full display. And this is what has happened in with this Charlie Kirk um, uh, assassination is the jewels have started to fall off. And the monster that this Mormon faction is um, becoming more and more on full display. And so when other crimes happen, um, people aren't isolating those crimes. They are connecting the crimes together and knowing that it's one big crime on our country. It's one big crime that assassinated Charlie Kirk, that assassinated Richard, that the reason why Julio Cordero was shot. It's one big crime that created the Walmart mass shooting, and all everything that is surrounding it is coming to light, and the real enemies of our country, the real monster, um, is shedding their disguise, their deception, and we're starting to see it. And so that's the good news. And I hope that that is um, gives you all hope, because I hear so much, oh, we'll never know, find out, we'll never get accountability, you know. And I just want to give hope that we are. And because if we see it, just think about someone in the Trump administration and President Trump himself. And I'm telling you right now, I know that he sees it. Um, with the intelligence and access, that's why you see Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and others looking at each other like, holy cow, holy cow. That's why because they're seeing the big monster. They're seeing the big Mormon ran faction that look at Charlie Kirk. He said half his team was Mormons. So this is a faction. This is not all of them, and so they have to. Um, uh, they'll know what to do, but it's nothing that they've ever had to do before. And so, um, you have to think about it, how you're going to handle this. But I think we're in a very good spot. Um, and And the more we know, the more that we'll share. And I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. And Tyler Robinson, he's part of it. He's part of this. So don't wave him off. He is a big part of this. So we'll get to the bottom of it. God bless the USA. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's tip of the iceberg. Thank you so much. And yes, Richard is our hero. Julio Cordero, total hero, Poison Ponds. And Charlie Kirk, a hero. And they were after President Trump over and over and over again. President Trump is a true hero. He'll go down in history as right there with George Washington, okay, as far as the president. I love George Washington so much that I have to say right there with George Washington. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.